Hi everyone, this is Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, DevOps TV, here at the DevOps Enterprise Summit London 2017. And that's a lot of DevOps. I'm happy to be joined by two of my good friends. To my far right, Nigel Kersten of Puppet. Nigel, welcome.
Thank you, Alan.
And to my, not far right, my close right, or my near right, none other than Dr. Nicole Forsgren of DORA. Hi, Dr. Nicole, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, your name has been coming up all day, throughout the whole summit, whether it be...
Hopefully it's good.
Oh, all good, whether it be about advisory board positions, or new papers, or when people want to validate their numbers, they say, well, we did run it by Dr. Nicole Forsgren. And I was like, oh, okay.
I rub science on things.
Yeah, you do. You rub a little science. Speaking of rubbing a little science, though, I wanted to hold up. This may be the first public view. Well, by the time people see this, it won't be the first public view. But I will note that this is a not-for-resale, unedited early manuscript draft of the upcoming book called The Science Behind DevOps, Building and Scaling High-Performing Technology Organizations. And it's written by Dr. Nicole and Jez Humble and Gene Kim, your co-founders at DevOps, DORA, DevOps Research and Analysis, correct?
Yep.
What's in the book, Nicole?
So the book is a summary and compilation of everything that we have found over the last 4 years of research with the team at Puppet. And it's kind of a deeper dive because the State of DevOps reports are great, but we can only fit so much content into the DevOps report. So it's an analysis, a summary, all of the science behind it, and then really a summarization, because everyone wants to ask me, what do you find? And I've got all of it in my head. I can tell you what we found over the 4 years.
And now we put it in here.
And now it's all there.
Fantastic. When, if you know, when does the official copy really come out?
We're targeting fourth quarter.
Which for us non-financial types are?
So that should be probably November. We're
okay.
Trying to figure out if that's going to be a galley copy or a final, but it's looking like it's going to be final. Hopefully DevOps Enterprise Summit San Francisco.
Which is November 10th to the 13th?
I think
Something
so.
Like that.
Yeah, I think the 10th to the 13th.
Sounds like a Christmas gift.
Oh, that would be...
Yeah, a little stocking stuff.
Or the best Christmas gift ever.
Absolutely. So we'll be on the lookout for that, and of course we'll feature that on DevOps.com. But speaking of the 4 years of work you've done with Puppet, Nigel and yourself presented here at the DevOps Enterprise Summit London on this year's findings in the DevOps survey, and State of DevOps survey and report, to be more official, I guess. Unfortunately, probably most of us on this video weren't lucky enough to be here to see you do it. But why don't you share with them a little bit about what it is you guys presented on?
Sure. So I think there were a whole bunch of different findings that were really interesting. We kept showing that you can really show that people with certain practices, like namely that sort of collection of stuff that we call DevOps, are outperforming the rest of their peers. And we're again seeing this sort of cohort of high performers, medium performers, and low performers in IT. But I think there's a bunch of really interesting things. We asked a whole bunch of questions around transformational leadership. And I think we've really managed to show, the data showing that this really matters. Like, people can have success within teams, within projects, just sort of on their own by adopting a bunch of technical and cultural practices. But if you really want a whole enterprise to actually accelerate ahead away from everyone else, you really need your leaders to step up as well.
Yeah, I love what you said there, because it's really what kind of makes the report stand apart from any other report in the industry right there. And it's that it makes a difference. And it makes a difference in a statistical way, right?
Yep.
So all of the practices and the capabilities that we see in technical practices and cultural practices and lean management practices statistically drive and impact and predict your ability to make software better and faster, and predict and drive organizational performance. And so this year we also added those additional measures of performance that I really love. So it's not just profitability, productivity, market share, which I love because who doesn't love money, but it's also the measures that are important for the nonprofit either organizations or also the nonprofit piece of companies that we care about, like effectiveness and efficiency and customer satisfaction. And so now we're really showing that doing the DevOps, is a real key value driver and differentiator across the board for all types of organizations and all industries.
And I love that trajectory. Like, we started off working out a few years ago that DevOps isn't just for unicorns. It's not just for the companies that are full of software engineers building all their own software. And we've shown now that it's not just for enterprises, it's for nonprofits, and it's not just for those people building software, it's for people running commercial off-the-shelf software.
Yeah.
They can actually take huge advantage out of this stuff.
So I saw that, I spoke at a conference in Houston, CIO Summit or something like that. And it was interesting, before I spoke, I asked, if you do DevOps, if your company's doing DevOps, raise your hand. The whole room raised their hand. I was like, this is going to be an easy talk, right? And then I started asking about what kind of development tools do they use. How many of you use Puppet? How many of you use this or that? Or how many internal applications do you have? And I was surprised by the amount of organizations who don't do really development per se. They do deployment, they use a lot of COTS software, but yet they're doing DevOps, or at least in their mind they are, and if they say they are, who am I to say they aren't, right? And that is a kind of an underserved market that we don't see a lot of information on.
I think just as operations people didn't always think of themselves as doing development, we're writing complex scripts, bat files for logins on Windows boxes. We see a lot of people in IT organizations not thinking themselves as developers, but they're business systems analysts. They're writing R code, they're doing Excel macros, they're customizing Salesforce and Marketo.
Absolutely.
And that's development.
No, it is. So I was in Orlando last month, at the ServiceNow conference. I forgot, Decisions or something was there. So this is ServiceNow. This is ITSM big time. Yep. Interviewing a guy from, I think W.H. Robinson was the name of the company, a big Midwestern. And he was like, well, I started off as a network cable guy, and then I learned ServiceNow. I became a developer. I said, what do you mean you're a developer? He said, I learned the scripting language and I started writing applications in ServiceNow. And now I'm in charge of our ServiceNow team and I interact with the DevOps team. And I said, how do you interact with the DevOps team? And in his description, he was really part of the DevOps team. He didn't realize it, right? But what he was doing was he was hand in hand with the folks on the DevOps team, because it was that continuation of development to deployment to operations, and the feedback loops back and make you. So I told him, I said, what about if I told you I think you are on the DevOps team? Yeah. And the bulb kind of went off in his head. He was like, yeah, I guess I am. I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing for him, but anyway, fantastic information there. I will tell you, we've done, a whole bunch of interviews here today. And oftentimes it's a presenter from a company who's presenting about their DevOps journey. And the question I ask them is, how do you measure success? Right? How do you know this is working for you? And I'm amazed more people still don't have that button down. I tell them, go call Dr. Nicole.
Nicole loves it when people don't measure.
I know. Or it's frustrating when they don't measure, because it's so difficult to know if you're doing well or if you're doing poorly until you have that really epic success or that really epic failure.
Right.
And it's such a challenge.
It's like subjectively in their gut they think, it's working, but
you suck at intuition.
Yeah, no,
and you can start simply. I think we've shown this through the report for years, that you just ask your people how painful are deployments.
Yes.
And it's this amazingly good proxy for, it's not hard to just survey your people and go, how painful are your deployments? Measure it 1 month, measure it the next month. If that's trending in the right direction, you're generally going the right way. Then start working out the more complicated measurements.
Yep. Or call me.
Yeah.
Or call me. That sounds like a song. But all right, what else from the report noteworthy that we want to share with some folks?
Oh, I know I've got a favorite in the automation, the manual work findings, right? That J curve.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So, last year we found evidence of the J curve, right? So we've got this transformation journey of, You've got those quick wins, and you've got that right? Like
It gets harder.
it gets harder from low performers to medium performers. So you're delivering code better and faster and higher quality before you get to high performers. And we saw evidence of that in greater amounts of unplanned rework.
Yep.
So it was 2016. So in 2017, we're seeing that again in unplanned rework. And it's interesting because some people were like, are you sure about that, Nicole? Did you just collect the data wrong? So we see additional evidence for that this year in manual work.
Really?
So we asked people about how much manual work they're doing. And we actually use that as a proxy for manual work, but also level of automation you're doing. And it's interesting because people were like, well, I had a couple of people ask me, well, why are you doing this? Why didn't you just ask about how much automation they're doing?
Mm.
And it's because you can't really ask people that, which is funny because if you look at any other report in the industry that reports on how much automation people are doing, they're wrong, right?
People don't know how much stuff they have to automate it. You've got to get to it another way.
Yeah, because if you ask people how much they automate, think about it this way. You can automate something and then it disappears. And it disappears forever.
Right, and then you no longer know when they ask you. They don't know what they don't know.
Right, and when you think about this, it shows up when we think about doing transformations and migrating systems. You think you know until suddenly you have this massive pile of crap that you have to deal with. But if you ask about the flip, if you ask about how much manual work you have to do, I can tell you that.
Right, because that
it's so salient and it's there. And so we asked about that. And what we see is that high performers, in a statistically significant way, outperform low performers, right? Absolutely. But the medium performers have more to do than anyone else. And it's that J curve, right? So they're still doing more in terms of deployments. IT performance, they do more software delivery.
But they're doing more manual work.
But they're doing more manual work because they're uncovering it. They discover more complexity.
So it's almost a case of ignorance is bliss for the low performers?
I think you start off as, everything's manual, you've got all these processes in place, and often those are sort of codified processes. Your people know how to do them. You're never going to get better than a certain ceiling. But then you go, okay, we can't get better than that without automating things. You start automating things, you start finding all the hairy edges, you start uncovering the technical debt, you start uncovering the things that can't be automated right now because of whatever process in place, whatever crappy bit of software. And that path is difficult. You start automating, you may have some pain around it, you may start breaking things a bit more often, people put a few more manual processes on front, but you've got to power through there.
Right, but you need to power through to get to the other side.
Yeah, and I think that's the skepticism
kind of
people face.
Shining a light on a dark corner, and but if you want a clean house, that's what you got to do.
Well, that's the part where it's DevOps is hard. Well, yeah, but if you can get through that, you'll absolutely hit. What was it? Someone told me you'll hit DevOps Nirvana.
DevOps Nirvana. Yeah, I think it's similarly. So I've worked at other places where you had a philosophy of you always switch who's the service owner. Every year, switch who the service owner is because things become invisible to you. And someone else comes along and sees it and goes, oh my God, look at this mess. And the other person's like, what mess? That was just how the world was.
Pretty much, I have that discussion on a daily basis with my wife. She says, what did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? Everything looks good to me. But you know what? But there's a touch of reality. And I know we're running long here, but if you don't mind, we're going to run long.
We can totally.
I think it brings a dose of reality to DevOps, though, because I'm tired of people blowing smoke up people's butt about how DevOps is going to change the world, and you got to do this. But
it's hard work.
But not without the pain, not without the work.
You have to earn it.
Anything else. If I'm going to give, look. Nothing's for nothing in life. I've been around long enough to learn that. If I'm telling you these are magic beans that are going to grow your beanstalk, don't use them, right?
Oh, no.
But there are people. There are people selling DevOps magic beans. Let's be clear.
DevOps as a service, and I rolled my eyes so hard. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing. Do you know what's DevOps as a service? DevOps as a service is the 80s and the 90s when someone thought you could just automate your way through a thing. I'll tell you right now, if you try to DevOps as a service your way out of this, you're going to be in a world of hurt all over again. You can't automate your way through this. It's automation, and it's process, and it's culture, and it's hard. And then once you get through it, it's going to be easier and it's going to be better. And yeah, it's going to be a little amazing. But if you try to write a check to automate the thing, it's not going to end well.
But it's hard. I think it's important to work out the way it's hard. It's not hard like a grand unified theory of physics.
No,
it's hard like
we're not
learning
quite
the
up to
piano.
that.
You know, we know what needs to be done, and it's just you just do it, and it's hard work.
And there's
the path has been
there's
set.
no shortcut to it. So to me, it was like it was learning calculus or anything. I guess there were some people just born who are progenies and they get calculus. For me, calculus was epic. I mean, I had to have a tutor for that class, and I didn't have many tutored classes. But it's that way. You're not just going to. You're not buying magic DevOps beans. You're not doing these things. So, I think that's an important thing. We've gone well over, as I said before, but just real quickly, this was the 4th or 5th year for the survey.
This is 4th for me. It's
6
for Puppet.
6th for Puppet.
6th
and
for Puppet.
5th since
Gene was
Jess
involved. Yeah.
have been involved.
Great. Are
So
we
it's been
working
going
on
well.
next year's yet?
I mean, I have research ideas. I already know what I want to include next year.
I think we've been holding off on throwing the ideas at each
Let's
other
get
until
this one out.
now that it's out, we're all good.
Speaking of out, people watching on TV, on YouTube land, where can they get a copy?
What's the URL? I think if you just Google State of DevOps Survey,
Yeah.
it'll be out
I
there.
know
2017.
We'll have
on
the link.
the DORA site.
There'll be a link on the DORA site. There'll be a link on the Puppet site. Follow any of us on Twitter. We're probably not going to shut up about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we will inundate you. With,
So there won't
with
be
DevOps
any-
love.
Right, and the DevOps magic beads. But so if your name is Jack, it might work. But anyway, so guys, congratulations, though, all kidding aside. This State of DevOps report is, I think, what, as an industry, and not only the DevOps industry, the IT industry, really looks to say, hey, is this all nonsense or is this real? And this is what's proving it's real. So kudos to you and Jez and Gene as well, along with you, Nicole, and Nigel, to the whole Puppet team. I mean, this is 6 years of work.
Yep.
Over 25,000.
27,000?
27 now.
27,000
Yep.
if we reach back to 6 years. I think it was 27,200 when I
Yeah.
did my count.
That's a lot. And you know, it's quite a body of work. And it's led to this great book that I'll hold up here once again, which will be out in the 4th quarter as well. Guys, fantastic work. Dr. Nicole, always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you,
Nigel,
Alan.
always a pleasure. Nigel Kersten, Dr. Nicole Forsgren, presenting on the State of DevOps Survey and Report here at DevOps Enterprise Summit, London 2017. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com and DevOps TV.